right, my computer says 10 a.m. Central Time, so we'll go ahead and get started. Good morning, everybody. My name's Noah Newman. I'm technology editor with Precision Farming Dealer. Great to have you all with us today for this webinar, Integrating AI in Equipment Dealerships, Augmenting Support and Mitigating the Labor Crisis. Now, hosting today's session is AgVisor Pro's founder and CEO, Rob Syke, a familiar face around Leicester Media. We saw him kick off our Precision Farming Dealer Summit last year and the No-Till Conference as well. And you see he's joined by a panel of experts. Rob's going to introduce them here in just a second. And together they will provide an in-depth look at how AgVisor Pro's Visor Pro AI technology can support your dealership team. So, Rob, I'll hand it off to you and we'll get started here.
Thanks, Noah. First of all, I want to thank Leicester Media. You guys have been a great proponent of advancing technology through the precision ag and farm equipment dealer sector, and that's been great. Great to have us here today. We have myself, which I already mentioned, the founder, CEO of AgVisor Pro, and we're going to talk today about visorpro.ai. So if you want to go to that website, you can have a look. visorpro.ai. We have Brian Torgerson, who I'm going to talk to a little bit soon. And Brian's family runs a 100-year-old plus over 100-year-old dealership and farming operation in Montana. We'll hear more about that. We've got Brock Moyer with us. Brock is our Chief Product Officer, and Brock's got a very deep background in data science. Patrick Walter, co-founder, is COO, Chief Operating Officer, and he's actually visiting his family in Switzerland. Patrick speaks 4 languages and has been with me at AgVisor Pro kind of from the start. So what is the genesis of all this? Well, back in the day when my hair was dark, I founded a company called AgriTrend. AgriTrend was an independent consulting firm comprised of agronomy and precision ag and grain marketing and farm business management and carbon credits, all run on a data platform called the AgriData Solution. It was through that period of time that we integrated our agronomy and our precision ag solutions all across North America, from as far north as you can farm in Canada, all the way down to the Mississippi Delta. And we crossed paths with this Torgerson family. Well, the Torgerson group of companies integrated AgriTrend inside of their operation, and that led to the birth of something called 406 Agronomy. 406 Agronomy is the Torgerson business that focuses externally on agronomics and precision ag. During the time that I was building AgriTrend, I wrote a book called The Agriculture Manifesto, 10 Key Drivers That Will Shape Ag in the Next Decade. And that was written in 2013. And the second last chapter was devoted to artificial intelligence. After selling and exiting to Trimble, I took on the CEO role of DOT, the robotics platform, and we exited to Raven. About that time, I wrote a second book called Food 5.0, How We Feed the Future, and there was a chapter in there about artificial intelligence and how we were going to use that in agriculture. Brian Torgerson, you're farming, you guys operate in the state of Montana and a little bit beyond. Tell us a little bit about your business, how broad it is, the main lines and the short lines, and we'll get into the constraints of your business here right away.
Thanks, Rob. Good morning, everybody. My name is Brian Torgerson with Torgerson's Equipment in Montana and northern Wyoming. We operate 14 stores spread out through Montana and Wyoming, and our majors are Case IH, Case Construction, New Holland Ag, New Holland Construction, along with a litany of short lines. Interestingly enough, we did get into forestry last year with the premium brand of Tiger Cat, and so that's taken us into a completely different realm, very similar to the ag side when it comes to the service side, though. And yeah, that's who we are. Also have a couple of farming operations along with 2 brothers and a dad, and we're in the Big Sky State. We typically, 120 miles in one direction is not out of the question on a daily basis.
Now, Brian, you serve a wide geographic area, and when we started to talk to you about Visor Pro AI, really, you're kind of trying to figure what the heck are we talking about. But when we started to talk about the pinch points in your business, that's when you really got the vision. Can you talk to us a little bit about being an equipment dealership and about the constraints that you're experiencing with respect to labor, service, and technical support?
Sure. The number one constraint that we have is technicians, and along with technicians is just the distance that we travel every day in the field taking care of customers. And so, how fast can we get an answer to a customer, and how fast can we fix the problem is what we're up against every day. So, how do we get to more customers during the day? That's our number one thing. When you look at the number of phone calls that we receive on a daily basis, it's extraordinary. And you couple that with every phone call has a question. And within that, that question leads to more questions. And when our technicians are getting questions across the gamut, you talk agriculture, you talk construction, you talk forestry, and then you add all the different lines amongst agriculture, and then you throw in forestry and construction, it's just overwhelming for a tech, even an experienced tech who at times will have the answer off the top of his head. But to keep on top of all the technical information that's coming at that technician every single day, you add on new models coming to the market, you add on constant updates. And so it's just overwhelming even for our best techs to keep up on it and try to get those answers. And time's money. So whether you're talking agriculture, construction, forestry, time's money. And the key is as we move forward, how fast can we get back to that customer or keep him going? One of the second things that we look at is new technicians. So in our industry, regardless of the space, we're getting technicians that do not have a background in agriculture or construction or forestry. And so these technicians, we're getting them through schools. They're going to a technical school, which is great. But yet when they come on board, they just don't have the experience. So how fast can we spool up a new technician? That's everything for us. And then I look at the third bucket. When you look at stress and you're in busy season and our guys are putting in hours upon hours, taking how fast can you get to a customer? How fast can you fix the problem? These are the stress points that over time, it just burns people out. So getting answers, again, is the name of the game. And it goes far beyond just taking care of a customer or just getting a problem fixed. We're talking about retention of people. We're talking about lifestyle. We're talking about an industry or a service department that is not just on fire every day. And so those three items I would look at are pinch points.
So I looked at those and wrote them down, just the sheer number of volume of questions, especially during busy season, which seems to me to be a longer season every year, which is from seeding to spraying all the way through to harvest. And then you've got the stuff in the off season to take care of. You've got new people that you need to bring in and bring up to speed quickly. And lastly, you just got to deal with the burnout. And when that guy walks out your door with 4 years of knowledge, that's a bad day. So how do you capture that in? We're going to be demoing that. Patrick's going to be going third, and he's going to demo how we use Visor Pro inside of a dealership and what we are bringing to the marketplace. I also want to encourage anybody who's on the call today to punch their questions into Q&A, and I will look at those questions and circulate them back to the panel. So if you guys are able to put the questions in the Q&A, and we'll address them. So we've got a real big issue, and the issue is not just limited to Torgerson's equipment in Montana. It is pervasive across North America, if not worldwide. It's a big, big problem. We've all been hearing about regenerative ag, about large language models, machine learning. We've been hearing about ChatGPT and Bard. And so I'm going to turn to our Chief Product Officer, Brock Moyer, as mentioned, came to us through the Alberta Machine Intelligence Institute, which is a think tank in Edmonton dealing with machine learning and artificial intelligence. He also worked on the Large Hadron Collider, a background in physics, a background in data. And we caught Brock from his technology headquarters in Pender Island. So, Brock, good morning to you. And can you lead us, me and Brian? Maybe Patrick understands it, maybe Noah doesn't. Can you tell us a little bit of what the heck is this artificial intelligence, or maybe as we're referring to it, augmented intelligence?
Sure thing, Rob. Yeah, this is a pretty exciting time for people like me working in an industry like agriculture. The state of AI right now, or artificial intelligence, as we're using it as augmented intelligence, is really at a point where it's really unlocking solutions that couldn't otherwise exist before. And this is very exciting for us and for Visor Pro. What this means is we look at equipment dealerships. You know, they have this really intense pinch point around information retrieval. How do we find the information that we need to answer these questions? And what generative AI enables, what large language models especially enable, is really enabling that information retrieval. Instead of, you know, one of Brian's technicians taking 30 minutes to go or 10 to 15 minutes to go and find where in a service manual a particular answer would be through one of their many dealership portals. What Visor Pro AI is capable of doing is answering that question within 10 to 15 seconds. That's the power of large language models. That's the kind of enabling technology that we're working with today. What is it? At the end of the day, these large language models, all they're trying to do is predict the text that'll complete the sentence that is given or the prompt that is given. But there's a lot of clever tricks that we're using that allow us to use it to really get the information out of the reference materials that we give it.
So there's a lot of different conversations, Brock, about AI, about the information. There's a lot of different AI engines being developed right now, and Visor Pro is utilizing that AI engine, but we're also doing it in a way that secures the dealership data, and it extracts the wisdom of Sam, the service guy, so that if he walks out the door, we've also captured that wisdom. Can you talk a little bit about the future of where you think AI will go, and the importance of security to the dealership, knowing that their data is their data?
Sure thing. So the first thing there is the security for the dealership. We put the data that our partners give us into what we call a vault, the Visor Vault. The Visor Vault is really a secure storage place for whether it's their manuals or other documents that we then pre-process and put into the Visor Pro system. In terms of, you know, how this helps the technician and kind of where that goes. So once the information's in the vault, you know, we can put anything in there. We can put service manuals in there. We can put operators manuals in there. We can put email threads in there or text threads, whatever. It could be unstructured data. This is one of the things that large language models enable. When Visor Pro is operating, when the system is set up and a technician is asking a question, that question is then compared to what all the reference material in the vault is, and then it provides an answer based on the reference material that our dealership partners are uploading in there. So typically with a large language model, you know, if you've ever played with ChatGPT, there's this problem called the hallucination problem, where ChatGPT will just make up answers because it doesn't know its limitations, and its goal is to just complete whatever prompt you've given it. The system that we're building, though, we've really honed in on, you know, it can't really make up answers. What it is doing is finding in the vault where the right answer is, and then pulling the information out of that reference material and summarizing the answer for you based on strictly what's in the reference material. So we avoid a lot of the challenges that come with some of these large language models. We're doing it in a secure way, and it's really helping out our dealership partners at the end of the day.
So I've been using kind of the analogy of a car, and as you look at a dealership, every dealership's got a different skin on it. Some are blue, some are red, some are, yellow. You got different skins on the car. You got different differentials. That could be your short line equipment. You got different drive shafts. But the engine at the front is an AI engine. So basically, we have got a couple of things going on here. One is security. We secure the dealer's information in their vault. Over time, their vault gets stronger, and we're able to extract the answers very quickly, and there's no fabrication of the answers because the answers are referenced with the manual and the page number. So, Patrick, we're going to take it over to you now, because I know that most of the people on the call here, and I can see the names of the people attending. Kelly Matheson, good to have you here, bud. I'm glad you joined the call. Anyways, the folks coming on the call are anxious to see what we've done. So, Patrick, why don't you take it away for a little bit here, and then I'll circle back and kind of tie all of this together.
Perfect. Yeah. Well, it's a pleasure talking to you guys, and apologies if my accent is too strong, especially now that I'm in Switzerland. It always gets a little worse. But let's dive into this. I think Brian already kind of talked about this. Where do we see the problem? And what is the problem that we actually want to solve? We look at these equipment dealers and we just see that during the seasonal peak, they're almost overwhelmed with all of these questions that come in. Literally, I've talked to technicians. They said to me, Patrick, do you know how many saved missed calls you can have on an iPhone? And I said, I have no idea. He said 150, because I counted, because by the time it was 10 o'clock at night, I couldn't go back to the calls I had in the morning. So how does one even handle 150 calls a day? The interesting piece, though, is that 60 to 80% of those support requests are actually repeated. So these are things that are very easy, like how do you set up an AB line? How much oil does my tractor take? What type of oil does it take? Those are things that we shouldn't really bog down the technicians with. And so when we look at technicians, and Brian was kind of talking about that, technicians who are maybe experienced, they might know it on top of their head what the answer is, but it still takes them a long time to get back to them, just to even write it out, just to call him back, etc. If they're not experienced, they spend a considerable amount of time actually searching for that information. And then, technical talent, we all know this is very hard to find. The North American Equipment Dealers Association, NAIDA, I believe, has programs to bring in technicians from South Africa, because we can just not find the talents here. And then institutional knowledge today is very much trapped into people's head. The minute they walk out, if someone was very experienced on how they would fix a certain thing with a monitor, it's gone. Like it's not there anymore. And so those are kind of the problems that we want to solve with the solution that we have. And so let me walk you through this. So currently we're in phase 1 and phase 2, I would say, actually. And where I want to start, though, is where do we see this go in the future? And so in the future, we very much want this to help you manage that call volume and easily answer these requests. And so when we look at this, what this is basically, here we go. Where we see this fitting in the future is very much building a solution that fits into your workflow on the dealership level. So imagine you're a technician, you would have an app or a software. We can still discuss on how exactly we want to do this, but you would have this on your phone. All the questions would come in throughout the day. So you'd have like a new SMS, a new voicemail. We transcribe those voicemails. And all what you do as a technician is you say, I want to answer this question. Now you go and click generate an answer. we go out and look based on the material you provided us on what is an applicable answer for that specific problem. We suggest an answer and we give it into the technician's hand to approve and send out. So it's very much about human in the loop. The technician actually decides and says, yeah, this is the right answer, or I maybe want to add a little bit more information into this, and then I send it out. So it's more personalized. But this is very much where we see the future. Imagine this automatically now also connecting into your ERP system or CRM systems. So that this, when you seconds, automatically starts creating an invoice, and you'd have at the end of the season maybe 15, 20 very small helpful things that you helped to the customer that you could potentially also create an invoice for. That's really where we see it fitting into the entire workflow. So where we are at today already, we started this with some of the partners to actually also include institutional knowledge. So this could be things like WhatsApp conversations that you have amongst the precision technicians. This can be work orders where you have cause complaint correction that we can use to really train our models that is specific data that you as an organization have built over time. So it would be proprietary to you. And I'll talk to that a little bit on how this actually works within our vault as well. And phase one is very much, let's just help technicians save time in finding the right information very quickly at the right place. And this is what we have already today. I'm going to give you a quick live demo here. So this is live. This is how it works. You basically go in, you say, how do you create an A/B line in an in-command monitor? We now go look where in the reference material the right answer is. We summarize it, and we also provide you with the reference to it. So you can click on that, and it brings you exactly to that page in the PDF, and you can now go in and look at the detailed version of that if you'd like to. So imagine just taking that and sending it to a customer as the first thing just to get them going, and then you could still even call back, etc. Here's another example. How do you change crop type in field view, climate field view? Here are the 9 steps on how you need to do this. You can now go look into the reference material. It brings you to the exact page of the reference material, and you can get going. So again, this is within seconds versus you would have to go into a dealer portal, try to find that dealer portal. Oh, today I forgot the login, I'm not sure. So we all know how kind of painful that is. Or even, within OEM portals, I would say the search itself is quite slow as well, the way it works today. So this is very much just on steroids. So let's talk about that dealer vault and how that actually works. So the way this works is we work together with you as a dealer. You come to us, you say, we would like to ingest following manuals, following guides, following knowledge articles, as well as internal conversations or work orders. And we build a platform specifically for you. Only you have access. That is your data. We don't own it. That is all your data. And then your technician basically accesses that platform or that vault, and then the farmer accesses your technician. So again, it's very much that technician in the loop instead of like directly. So we don't have these annoying kind of experiences that you've maybe had with chatbots in the past. We don't want to give that to farmers at the end of the day. One little piece here that I want to just add as well is we're getting proprietary data into our Visor Vault. For example, we've gone to MacDon, that is like publicly available data. We use that, and so if you're an official MacDon dealer, we give you access to that piece as well, so that that you have that kind of as a courtesy. So yeah, last but not least, maybe here, like, what is the actual value? Well, I think, it kind of makes sense. It really improves the efficiencies in your customer interactions. It helps you free up the people to actually provide better support to the highest problems and not these like, how do I set up my A/B line? It helps you share knowledge amongst your staff. So imagine you now train all your institutional knowledge into this model. If you now have a new guy, you're just going to tell him, it's like, hey, just ask our specific large language model that we built. So it's another way to kind of onboard people faster. I'd also say it improves your store's absorption rate. So if we can fit this in the right way into your workflow, we really believe we can help you create, at the end of the day, more invoices, more work orders, because we all know when it's a busy season, most technicians, they're not the best people at just actually creating work orders. They're just picking up the phone and all of that kind of thing. And then it's just really also organizing your customer support in one place, in that sense. So that's it from my side. You guys have all our email addresses in the names here. Otherwise, I put mine here as well. I usually do these discovery calls. So when we jump on a call, we're trying to understand what you're trying to solve within your dealership, what kind of OEMs you have, what kind of short lines you have. And then we, kind of provide you with a demo and go from there. So I'll put this up at the end as well and put it in the chat. But yeah, that's it, Rob, for me.
Yeah, I'm going to address some of the questions that are coming in on the platform, and these are valuable questions. I'll get the question, then I'll send it out to one of you for answers. I think, Brian, we'll go with this one. First question is, customer calls in and gets free advice and information, something they've been doing forever. The technician with decades of experience has contributed to the answer, but very often this kind of information just falls through your hands. There's no way for you to track or know that there was a connection, no way for the dealership to get any value for that. That's one of the things we're going to work on, correct?
Well, absolutely. I think that we deal with that already. So we have customers call up, I don't know about all the time, but we certainly have customers call in asking for free advice and free help. And from my perspective, it's a matter of how do we answer that question to get the customer up and going quick, or is it something that we need to be careful that we need to send somebody out there to do a proper diagnosis? And that's the question that we deal with even today. We'll still deal with that. It's just a matter of how do we handle that with our technicians. And I think it's a pretty good, it's not an easy answer, but we can handle that. Can we get them up and going fast or quick, or do we need further diagnosis? And with our equipment today, the diagnosis piece is a constant. It's not, it's tough to go fix things over the phone, if you will. Basic question, yes.
Eventually, though, we're also thinking that Visor Pro in the hands of your technicians in the field will also expedite them, because they'll be able to go faster to the places they need to go for references. So that's another goal for us. Brock, a couple things coming in here. Who feeds the Visor Pro with new information? How does that work? And another one, I'll come back to this. Let's answer this one first.
Sure. So who feeds the Visor Pro new information? So the Visor Vault mostly is made up from the dealership's information, whether that's the manuals they have access to, or the other knowledge type of information that they have, whether that's emails or texts or other types of claims that they have. There are some data sets that we are also collecting as Visor Pro as well that we will update and provide access to dealerships. For example, Patrick just gave the example of the Mac Dawn. Those manuals are all openly available, so we can freely take them, put them into our system, and then make them available to the dealership partners that we have. we will continue to do that for any of the manuals, especially that we can find. But the dealers, at the end of the day, we work with them to help set up their Visor Vault, which is kind of a critical piece of getting Visor Pro running for them.
There's another question that came in around liability. And so Patrick pointed out that there was two pieces to our model. One is the Visor Vault. The dealer owns the data, and those data could be things like, as mentioned, it could be service manuals, parts manuals, but they could also be operator manuals, and we'll come to that in just a second. So the first piece is the security and the proprietary nature of the dealer Visor Vault. The second piece is around liability. And liability means we need to have a human in the loop. It'll be a long time, and maybe not that long, before you could trust the answers coming out of Visor Pro without human intervention. But for the listeners, it's very important to understand the question comes in from the field. The question is entered by a person into the Visor Vault, Visor Pro. We extract the answer out of the vault, and then a person looks at that answer and sends it on or adds to that answer the additional information. That anecdotal experiential information is added then to the vault, making the vault more valuable. So that's where we're doing it. Ramey, good to have you on. And you asked, will the farmers be able to access Visor Pro directly? No, not yet. And the reason for that is that we want to make sure that we get the dealerships up and running and trained and utilizing the manuals very well. We have talked, I talked to Young's Equipment, for example. Sean and I had a chat around using salespeople during the busy season, because they're not selling when the combines are rolling so much, to access operators' manuals using Visor Vault to help lift some of the shoulders off, or some of the workload off of service and tech, and that might be the case. And who knows, eventually maybe farmers have a subscription to the Torgerson Vault. Patrick, go ahead.
I would just want to be very categorically around this too. So the farmers would never have access to the vault, to the entire vault that Torgerson's would create. What we could see a future where, Torgerson's might say, we're only giving access to farmers to the operator manuals that they get anyways. But all of the other data that they usually cannot access, like technical bulletins and the tech manuals, etc., we wouldn't want to give access to the growers for that. It's very much, this is a solution that helps fast track the customer support for the dealer. That's where the goal is.
And another question just came in that I want to address. Does Visor Pro, do farmers have free access and Visor Pro send out the answer? And that's no. That doesn't happen. We put a human in the loop for a very good reason. One is liability, and number two is we want to make sure that that human in the loop verifies the Visor Pro answer and adds additional experience to that answer before it goes out. Brian, do you want to comment on that? Because that workflow has been important. We've been discussing that.
So ask that question again, Rob.
The system, the question comes in, your service technician, Sam, the service guy, puts the question into the Visor Pro. Visor Pro extracts the answer. The service technician, Sam, looks at that, says, yeah, that's good, but you should also do this, and then sends it out to the customer. We've talked about making sure that there's still a human in the loop, but the key to this thing is we can do in 15 or 30 seconds. I think you said we can manufacture time with Visor Pro, but we still want a human in the loop.
Well, absolutely. We want a human in the loop, and the customer's calling in because of the relationship in the first place. And how fast can we get that? Yeah, I do feel that we can manufacture time with a solution like this. Just gives our technicians more time to do what they need to do and focus on the complex side.
The other question that just came in is, how do we integrate group dealers, multiple locations? So right now, Patrick, can we talk about the signature from Manitoba yet or not?
Probably not quite yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Torgerson's are a good example where we're going to be working with how many of your stores all at the same time, Brian?
Ultimately, the goal is 14.
Yeah, 14 stores at the same time. And you heard earlier on that Brian was involved not only in agriculture, but you're also involved in forestry and construction. Many dealers have got consumer goods, motorcycles, they might be dealing with snowmobiles, they might have a variety of, and every dealer that we're dealing with, to me, has a different personality. And Brock, you've been talking to people about that. What have you been picking up as you've been listening to them and their needs?
Yeah, I mean, to your point, every dealer certainly has their own personality, especially the larger ones. They may have a single store selling construction and another one selling forestry, or they may all be, selling the same things. There's different equipment at different stores. When it comes to integrating with a group dealer, we can set up multiple visor vaults for the dealership and provide access to the appropriate people. So if you have a group within your dealership that's only working in, say construction, we can build a separate instance just for them and give them access to that. Or we can set it up kind of custom how it needs to be, just to make sure that the people who are using it at the end of the day are getting the right experience, getting the right answers, and have access to the correct information that they should have access to.
Ramey just asked an interesting question, Brian, and it's going to be targeted to you, thinking about the tech and the human value. And this is exactly going on. He said that after 10, 100, or 1,000 times where the questions come in and the answer has been delivered and somebody's looked at it and they added, yeah, but, and the second time they add the yeah, but, third time they do the yeah, but, at some point in time, the answer will be trustworthy enough. And so what we'll able to do then is Visor Pro will be able to help the farmers faster, saving the technician for the non-repeat questions. It's the repeat questions that are killing you right now, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. For sure.
I'll maybe add one thing to that, Rob, as well. And thanks, Remy, for the question. Kind of in phase 2, what we're planning to do is what we call verified answers. So imagine, we have a senior technician who then goes and says, hey, whenever a question comes in, that is, how do you set up an AB line, or how do I do a flow meter calibration, that senior technician verifies that this answer is the correct one. And from that moment on going forward, we will actually automatically say this is a Torgerson approved verified answer. And so I think it will come down to the fact that we need to teach technicians that if they are not verified, then you may want to make sure that you go and look at the right answer in the reference material. But that's kind of on the horizon right now in phase 2 to have those verified answers in.
A question came in also from Chad, and it was, how do we communicate the gap between the service department and the customer? Can we broadcast answers via phone, text, like SMS? Brock, as we're looking at the communication methodology, once the answer has been extracted through the generative large language model Visor Pro, how will we be getting these messages? What are the dealers telling you in terms of communication streams?
Yeah, I mean, right now, the interface that Pat demoed, that web app, that's one way that we can provide these answers. The back end system is really where the meat and potatoes is for this whole thing. And we can integrate that with multiple different systems. So that could be an SMS system, that could be your kind of chat line on your website, wherever you want to put it. But the other part of this answer is that, putting this directly in the hands of the farmers, getting that kind of tight integration with Visor Pro, just directly answering questions, whether that's like through SMS or whatever. That's still future looking for us. We really want to make sure that we have a good system that works very well for the dealerships. That means the answers are verifiable. It's really helping the technicians save a lot of time as they're answering questions. And then at the end of the day, integrating into more systems, that's absolutely where this is going. And as we continue to build the system, we will add on more and more integrations, whether that's through SMS or into different systems that the dealerships already have access to. It's kind of there's all kinds of opportunities for those sorts of things.
There's lots of opportunities, and one of the things that is coming up in the conversations and the questions about precision agriculture, and when you consider the amount of time precision ag specialists, and I know, Brian, you've got some, but the amount of time you would spend supporting, your Pro 700, your Trimbles, your Topcons, your Ravens, all of those different technology interfaces all have complex owner's manuals. And again, this is a real opportunity for you. And this starts to cross over a little bit into the agronomy world. You're thinking around that, Brian?
Well, for sure. I think that once we get into this, Rob, this is going to take us down roads that we don't know that are available today for us. You start looking at salespeople, you start looking at the agronomy piece of what we're doing, and the innovation is just starting. We have the vision of where we want to go with this, but how do we get there? That's the road that we work on with you guys. And we work on it together. We're solution oriented, but we know that we have to start somewhere and continue on this innovation scale. And this is the perfect platform to start. And as a dealer, we're not reinventing the wheel, so to speak, or we're not learning a new technology on our own. We're working with Visor Pro and your team, hand in hand, really as a partner of getting us up to speed much quicker. And what's the end game, right? The end game's our technicians. It's burnout, it's retention, it's customer satisfaction. So how do we get there? Well, that's the fun of what we do, and that's the exciting thing about taking on a software like this. And let's see where it goes. Rob, the success of Agritrend and what we've done, I'm looking at it from the same perspective. Let's jump in, eyes wide open. We see the vision. Now let's work together to make it happen.
Yeah, I know. We got some people on here I want to acknowledge too. We got Hergot up at Humboldt there. They just signed on with us. We got Troshu Motors. They just signed on with us. Lavingas down in Texas just came on. So we're really taking on dealerships right now. We do a demo for you. The decision-making process shouldn't be any more than 2 or 3 sessions, and you guys figure it out. And really, we're at that introductory phase right now between now and December, where we're trying to set up your vault and get you ready for spring. That's kind of what we're working on. And certainly Torgeson's, well, right behind Young's were some of the first people to come on. See, Kelly, many dealers are concerned the manufacturer will get between the dealer and the customer. Will the vault protect? Yeah. So again, this goes back to the personality of the dealerships. Let's say you're a New Holland dealership, and New Holland wants to sell, yellow and blue. They want to sell a lot of yellow and blue, but you're also, I don't know, a MacDon dealer. You're also a Bordeaux dealer. You also got, I don't know, Still, and you also got some Degelman and maybe some Schulte. Well, the main lines are never going to load up the technical information for the short lines. They're not going to look after the rest of your business. So I think that Visor Pro gives the flexibility right where it belongs, which is in the dealer's hands. And then the dealer's able to pluck out the answers they need to service their customers. The degree to which they involve salespeople in mining out data from Visor Pro from the operator's manual, so sales can actually help with part of this, I think is very exciting. So that's another thought process. Patrick, as you've been meeting with dealers, what's been the reaction of, like, sales cycles are hard. You're in front of somebody, you're cold calling. Who the hell are you? What the heck is it that you're talking about? What's been the reaction when you show, and how do you show this to a dealer?
Well, layer on top of that, there's this weird guy coming in that looks European and has a very weird accent, is wanting to talk to technicians. So it's usually quite a fun way to start, I would say. And, a lot of people said, like, hey, I maybe only have a minute or two. And I'm like, that's fine. I can do it in 30 seconds. And usually when we showed this chat bot on the large language model that we built, it really blows people's minds, especially technicians who are doing this every day. Like, you talk to them, one of them, they have their own cheat sheets trying to keep them on a drive. Then they start sharing the drive with their other technicians. But then meanwhile, someone at another location has another business system. So it's all over the place. So I think, the industry is definitely ready for that type of solution. And frankly, I'm excited that I hope we can make some of these technicians' life just easier, because it's not very sustainable the way we do it today. And I hope I can get them a little bit more free time.
Brian, as I've been calling on the dealerships, and I cannot believe how fragmented the systems are, not only between dealership chains, but even within stores of a dealership. Like Patrick said, you've got fragmentation. You've got binders for quick reference with scribble notes in them. You've got some guys with Google Drive or Dropboxes, and you got guys with pictures. We need to be able to, I think that's what your vision is. Can you comment on that?
Yeah, absolutely. And we have the same situation what Patrick is talking about. What's interesting with this is the sales team, they want to bring on, and I'm speaking tongue in cheek here, but they want to bring on every short line manufacturer they can get their hands on, right? Well, it's the service team that takes care of that sale once it's made. And the service team, they have to learn all this new equipment. They've got to learn all the different brands, all the different models. And that's tough. And we ask a lot of our technicians, and frankly, we probably ask too much. So from a training perspective, it's all about confidence. And how fast can you spool up confidence? Well, it's about how do we get answers and how do we learn this stuff? So I see this as a very good segue to help our service departments get spooled up much quicker on various brands, various OEMs, if you will, and to be able to do it confidently.
Yeah. I mean, for example, for one of our partners, Young's right now, correct me if I'm wrong, Brock, but I think we ingested 60 to 80 different different monitors you have on your pieces of equipment,
Really?
which, like we haven't even talked about all this other stuff. And so how does one keep that all in their head? Like, I think that's not very sustainable.
I want to jump on that because there's a question around pricing here, and the pricing really depends. It depends on the personality of the dealership. Like you just said, Patrick, some dealers are very complex with the number of short lines and the number of technical manuals, etc., that they have. So we'll sit down with you guys who want a demo. Just go to the visorpro.ai website and type in that you'd like a demo. We'll do the demo with you, and then we'll ascertain what the fair pricing is to bring you on to phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. Another question was, and for Brock, how will slower available mobile data speeds affect Visor Pro performance? That's a good question. As we are in the field with our cell phones or maybe our tablets in the field, what does lower bandwidth speed mean for Visor Pro? How is it going to affect it?
Yeah, Visor Pro actually doesn't require a ton of bandwidth. The main thing that's being sent is just the question and the answer. All of the processing is done in the cloud, essentially. So it does have an impact. Certainly, if you can't, send an SMS over your Wi-Fi, then you're going to have an issue. But that's about the requirement that it would be. Is can I send a small amount of text over my my mobile data? If you can, then you'll be fine. The thing that I'm always aware of is just that our mobile coverage continually expands. We have Starlink, for example, now. Lots of people are getting access to very, very good download speeds, very good internet, and then the mobile networks are continually improving. So even in a lot of places where traditionally they didn't have great coverage, that is a changing factor in our climate today.
AgVisor Pro, where Visor Pro came from, you see, we built AgVisor Pro to create answers for the agricultural community, and behind the scenes, we were testing Visor Pro. And it's really interesting because AgVisor Pro is about connecting people to people. So I invite you guys to download AgVisor Pro on iOS or Android. Visor Pro, which is our AI, is really more desktop suited. It's more for the guys behind the counter, but that's not to say technicians wouldn't use it in the field. From a standpoint of business, there are two questions coming in around revenue. And one is, how do we encourage dealers to open a work order so they can get paid? Another one from Kelly was about absorption rate. How do they generate more aftermarket? Well, I don't run an equipment dealership, but I hear a lot of calls come in and dealers are servicing farm customer questions about equipment they bought at Ritchie Brothers. So it's not on warranty. It's not even sold from the dealership. And yet the dealer is, encumbered with trying to answer those questions. And a phone call comes in, and then that basically is dropped, and you never get revenue for it. So with Visor Pro, we think that by extracting the answer and sending that out via SMS or whatever, there's proof of an interaction. And with those proofs of interaction, we think that there's an opportunity that, Brian, I think that there's an opportunity here to perhaps generate some revenue for the work that you're doing, legitimately helping the farmer, whereas versus before it just slid off the table. Your thoughts on that?
Well, for sure. We think that, again, don't have all the answers as we're just starting this process, but we for sure feel that faster throughput. We think that we can get more hours turned, more customers taken care of on a revenue work order on a daily basis, especially busy season. So we do feel the revenue piece will come, and it will be there. Exactly how, again, we're in the working stages of it. But yes, revenue is a big piece of this. But I would say equally as important is burnout, is stress, it's retention of text, it's spool up of text. I think that for me is probably the first 50% of why we jumped on and are taking this leap, right? The second piece, we feel with our team, with our people, will make the revenue aspect work. In the last 100 years, we've had lots of innovation come down the pike, and once you get into it, you do figure it out, and you make the ROI to it. And we feel that we've got a good grasp on that. But again, we're learning as we go here.
There's a question came in to you, Brock. Will the large language model require specific prompts to provide the most accurate answer? This is kind of interesting because you guys have been dealing with the hierarchy of the referencing that we're using in the answers in Visor Pro. So will the LLM require specific prompts to provide the most accurate answer?
Yeah, so people who understand large language models have used ChatGPT. They understand the concept of prompt engineering. So behind the scenes in Visor Pro, we handle most of the prompt engineering. For the end user, for the technicians using Visor Pro, all they really need to know is how to put in like a Google search for what they're looking for. So like specificity does matter. You need to name what kind of equipment you're looking to solve the problem on, and what the problem is. And that's kind of the only two things that are required. You can put them in any order. It doesn't really matter. The large language model can even make some assumptions. If you put in, I need help with my 8010, it'll know that that's an 8010 combine, just because that's the only 8010 that kind of exists in our database. So it does kind of make some of those assumptions, but the more specific a technician can be when they're putting in their question, the better the answer, the better the Visor Pro system will be able to extract the right answer for them. So the technicians don't need to be prompt engineers. They don't need to be experts in large language models. They just need to know what they're looking for and be able to articulate that.
A lot of questions around like the farmer integrated in this whole thing. And one of the things that we're discovering is it's difficult for a lot of people to articulate what the question is. When somebody's calling you as Sam, the service guy, answers a phone call and this guy is screaming at him, Sam's job is to decipher what the problem is and to come up with the proper question. Eventually, as the model grows, what's to say that eventually, Torgerson's may be opening up part of this model in the future so farmers can use it, but it would be limited to, it would have to be, you'd have to be confident in that, and you'd know you need to trust the answer, and you still want to maintain that connection to that service tech, because the yeah buts are still important. So as you stare into the future, Brian, of the farm equipment, construction, and forestry businesses, and tech's not going away, it's getting worse. Without, like, what's your vision for Visor Pro? If it works, if it doesn't work, like, what do those two worlds look like?
Well, Rob, I'm going into this. It's going to work. Okay, we're going to make this thing work, and we're going to do it for our people. And let's focus on technicians and let's make it work there. The next step is let's take it to our salespeople. And when we can go grab new hires and bring them in, and we can show them that we've got this AI ability, that we have Visor Pro to help, again, spool up training, spool up learning, and get people interested. That's where I think innovation meets mainstream. And you look at the public out there, agriculture is less than 1%, right, of North America. And when you look at most people out there, they have no clue about how technical our industries are. All three, right? Ag, construction, forestry, it's very, very technical. And I'll tell you a quick cool story is I hired a precision guy that in his previous life, he remodeled or updated F-15s. And he came into our business, agriculture, and after a couple of months, he said, "Brian, I had no idea the technical aspects to ag equipment." He's working on sprayers, right? He said, "This is as cool as working on F-15s." And I tell that story quite a bit because the mainstream public, you get these new young people that are looking at our industry. It is not duct tape and baling wire. We are a very innovative industry. We're a very technical industry, and we're the backbone of our great nation, the economy. You look at feeding the world. You look at building things, right? And so the more that we can take these products and show our people and the people that want to come into our industry that this is what we do, right? It completely changes their mindset to opportunities. That's where we get excited, and we have to stay leading edge. And these are products that will keep us leading edge, not bleeding leading edge, but leading edge to where it makes sense for our business. And there's ROI for it, not just from a financial perspective, but there's an ROI from a human perspective as well.
I think that, I'm old enough to remember the advent of the internet and when it started, and how people were trying to wrap their heads around what is this thing? What's the impact on the world? What we're seeing here with our artificial intelligence, large language models, and generative AI is more transformative than anything we've witnessed before. Brock, just a comment on that as we begin to wrap up here. This is transformational. In 2 years, we're not going to recognize how things are done. Your thought, Brock? What are you still thinking? Brock, are you there?
Looks like he may have been frozen.
Yeah, looks like he might have been frozen. Anyways, the technology keeps advancing, and the way that AI is going to reshape things. I want to thank some of the people on here. Daryl Petros with Canadian Agri-Food Innovation, or Canadian Autonomous Agri-Food Innovation Network. I see him there. It was good to see Brad Rathjay on there. Good to see you, buddy. Good to see a lot of the dealers on here. Really good to see Rami Schmaltz on here. Enjoyed sharing this with you. Noah, last word to you. You do a lot of these webinars. Lessiter is a leader in no-till, strip-till, precision ag. You have a large interface with the equipment dealers. And based on what you just heard, How excited are you about Visor Pro and what we're building here, Noah?
Yeah, it's a lot to process, a lot of great information packed into this hour, and really looking forward to jumping in and covering the growth of every Ag Visor Pro and Visor Pro, and we will have a recap article on this too. So I'm going to go back and rewatch everything and put together an article and send it out. But it's it's very excited to watch what's going to happen here in the coming months and in the coming years, as you talked about. In a couple of years, it's going to be completely different the way things are done. So it'll be exciting to follow.
And it's I want to thank Brian, because Brian and I go back a long ways. Our families go back all the way to the Agri-Trend days and setting up 406 agronomy and the precision ag stuff, and now Ag Visor Pro and now Visor Pro. And Brian, I just want to thank you for taking the time, taking the leap with us to have the guts to step out on this edge of this cliff again with me, and kind of holding hands and jumping off into the wild beyond. But it's an exciting place to be. Last word to you.
Absolutely, Rob. Appreciate it very much. These things it's what gets me up in the morning and moving forward. It's innovation and how do we become better as an industry? How do we become better as a company? And you roll those two things up, and we take care of our people. And it's all about taking care of our people. And ultimately, we do that in a effective manner. Well, we take care of customers, and they keep coming back. And so it's truly an innovative technological industry space that we live in, and Visor Pro is leading the way. And it's pretty cool, Rob, to see all the things that you've been successful in. You know, I tell people Rob he's the TED Talk of agriculture, and he's the guru of what we do. So I'm excited that you're still game on, Rob, and doing these types of things, and I'm glad to be part of it. So thank you.
Well, everybody, Lessiter Media, great job. Brock Moyer, Chief Product Officer. Patrick Walter, Chief Operating Officer. I'm Rob Sykes, CEO of Ag Visor Pro, and now VisorPro.ai. We're looking forward to doing the demos with you all.